Every person who's known me for at least a little while has seen that I am unbelievably inconsistent and flip-flop on my plans almost daily. It's to the point where I think every one of my friends has been annoyed by it at least once, if not just confused about why it happens. The most obvious example to anybody following me is everything surrounding how I used Twitter. I announced several times that I would only be posting certain kinds of things before eventually going back on it for new reasoning I came to. And constantly I would delete tweets after making them for reasons that probably weren't very clear. Eventually, I got so fed up with the website that I made a big fucking deal out of leaving it, deleting every tweet and reply I had ever made and just leaving a big "I don't use this website" sign where my stuff used to be. Meanwhile, I rail the website almost every other day. Every single one of my friends knows the shit I have to say about it. It's incredibly clear that Twitter at this point has evolved into just a giant psyop machine, the primary objective of which is to profit from its users' perpetual anguish. Twitter loves the news, and the news loves Twitter. The news cycle is designed to make you fear and hate other people, and it's been that way since I was born. Time and time again, it's been shown that anger grabs your attention the best, and fear keeps you feeling like you have to keep looking. That's what it means to stay informed. The news makes you angry and scared. And Twitter is there for you to get into your little groups of people afraid of everyone surrounding their circle and constantly be battling for their side. Twitter is a battleground that can feed on every ideological bullet shot and verbal sword swung for monetary gain. That's why Twitter cares so much about discussion while designing their website in the worst possible way for it to happen. It keeps the fight going, because the fight is constant engagement, and engagement is data to collect and sell. But you see, none of that is why I left. Me leaving doesn't stop that. It doesn't do anything to that. I left Twitter because I wasn't liking my time there. You'd assume the fighting is what ruined my time, but no. I don't care about the news or whatever sides anybody is on. I can get over that. In my world, it doesn't matter if the smoke covering the sky above my house right now is from the fires caused by climate change or reckless normies or intentionally lit by Antifa. Either way, the smoke outside is making the air toxic. That's the part that actually affects my personal life. I'll leave the fight up to people who care about getting to the bottom of that and making the difference. The real reason I left Twitter is because it's a social website. And I'm a fucking social reject. I grew up with anxiety, I had my fair share of depression, I got bullied for being fucking weird and not knowing what to say to anybody. I have social issues, and the consequences of that have left a bit of an impression on me. So I find myself on a website like this, and a lot of that just comes crawling back into my head. Especially because I came here right as I was coming from like 400 followers and getting thrust into the spotlight as the new kid on the block with 3,000 or so. I don't enjoy mass attention. I didn't enjoy even getting up in front of my class for show and tell when I was in the 4th grade. And despite all my progress, I'm still that same kid. And you know, I'm not the only one like this. I'm for sure not the only person in the furry community like this, which has collectively decided that Twitter is the hip new place to be. The furry community is built by social rejects. It's basically the requirement to be here. If you're some normie fuck who's hanging around because somehow it got into your head that it's cool, you're gonna end up feeling out of place real fucking fast, cause it's not, and you just don't belong. So why has a community of socially maladjusted rejects decided to congregate on a website governed by social dynamics? Why the hell do you hurt yourself so? Well, why did I come here? I wasn't on it because I already knew all of that. And I was scared of it from day one. I felt like I was walking up on stage in school again. The truth is, it's not all bad. Twitter is kinda good. Essentially, the real point of Twitter is to connect audience and creator. In a community like furries, where the lines between artist and consumer have always only ever been illusory, that's a great thing. The communication and sense of personal connection between artists and viewers that Twitter, in the right use case, can provide really has the potential to strengthen subculture and smaller communities centered around content creation. Also, for artists, you meet a lot of people, and your stuff can spread fast once you already have a few people watching. It's also just where the people are. People want to be on Twitter. Fur Affinity is in a perpetual state of being on its way out, and right now, sharing is just more successful than searching. That's how people prefer to find new stuff. And as much as I love searching, I can get behind sharing. It's nice seeing something shared to you and discovering something you like just at random like that, without you even having to look for it. So I recognized these things, and I left them. Why the hell am I thinking of coming back again? Why won't Twitter leave my head? Really, the day I left and put that mess of a journal up and did all the bullshit with my commissions, I wasn't thinking so straight. The cyberpsychosis had just built up in my psyche and I was going mad. Leaving Twitter was a rash decision that ultimately I believe went against my principles, especially one that lately I've been feeling very strongly. That is that I should make the best of what's here and now. I shouldn't spend so much effort fighting the tide and trying to beat up the ocean. I gotta go with the flow. But I'm still keeping what I did with commissions. That's the way it should have been from the start. Also, it really is just an alright way to distribute content. Now, I don't think it's a good way to distribute sentiment or message, but it's good for content, and the content can carry those things. I don't know how much I really would want to be dumping my thoughts there, though, or talking to people. I may be able to handle it. With moving away from commissions and stuff, I've become a lot more comfortable. I know that even if I say something stupid and my commissioners want to cancel, if there is any, I have a job. I will live. I don't need furry money to live. I can just do it for fun. I can do it to express myself. But in general, and this is back to the root of the problem, I am hesitant to say or do anything, ever. I've been that way for a lot of my life, because really, I want to be understood. I wouldn't care so much about art if it wasn't for understanding. Expression is the most important factor in my life to my mental health. That's why if I'm not drawing or making something for too long, I just start becoming depressed, whether I realize that's the reason or not. I have to excise things from my head to the outside world some way or another for my mind to not just collapse in on itself. The problem is, expressing anything at all is unbelievably difficult for me. Even now, I'd be surprised if any of my close friends really thought that stringing words together came completely naturally. I am obsessed with trying to explain myself because I feel both that I have to and that I can't. For most of my life, and even now, most of the time when talking to people who aren't personally connected to me, nobody understands anything that comes out of my mouth, either because I'm saying something that isn't getting to what I want to get at, or I just say it in a way that's a little misleading or even just too obtuse for somebody to get who doesn't already know what I would be trying to say. And in case you haven't noticed, I'm pretty long-winded when it comes to trying to make any point at all. I'm trying to explain why I flip-flop, and look at how long this is taking me. I've never been diagnosed, but many people who get to know me closely would agree. I'm further on the autistic spectrum than your average Joe. I don't think I'd qualify as a bona fide autist should I ever go to C. Maybe not even an Aspie, but I'm on the spectrum. I know that. And because of all of this, I don't express myself. My audience has no idea who I am. The more attention that has fallen onto me, I have become progressively, expressively repressed. It's evident in both how I present myself online and in just the art that I make. My art has slowed down. Now, that's up to many factors in my life beyond just what I'm feeling, but feeling is a very important element, and I'll say it this way. The art trickles out slowly because I prevent the flow. Despite this, I'm quite mentally healthy, I believe. I'm happy most of the time, despite all that happens in the world around me, because I have wonderful friends. The inward and outward flow of expression, communication, and understanding is what friends are for. And I've found plenty both online and offline that I don't have to block myself with. That's luck. That's pure luck. Because there's a lot of people who I have encountered that I have to block myself with constantly. But with those people, I can say anything however it comes naturally to me, and they'll receive it. And they can say anything back to me, and I'll know how to take it. That's what real friends are. What art is for, on the other hand, is expressing the stuff that just doesn't come in words or even actions. It's ideas I have in my head. I have images in my head. I want to express them, so I make images. I can't do that in any other way. In this way, no matter how well illustrated my art is, I don't think my art is that incredible, because I don't express very much through it. I express what I want to insofar as it's stuff that I like, but there's so much more that I would put in if I just let myself free. But I don't, because I'm repressed. What Twitter is for, in a utility sense, is that it's good for distributing pieces of expression to people who want to see it from you. In that way, I really fucked up. From day one on Twitter, I was filtered as fuck. I was paranoid. Seriously, some of my first tweets that wasn't just art was me panicking because I thought that 240 characters was so little that anything I said would be misinterpreted and I'd die or something. Basically, what I'm trying to explain is that I'm Shinji Ikari. I get so fucking hung up on details of how I'm gonna fuck everything up that I'll stop myself from doing anything. I'll just sit around all day long doing bullshit that doesn't bring anything to my life just because I don't want to deal with the consequences of being hurt by my mistakes. I require the outward flow of expression, but I just hesitate so much because the inward flow of communication, if I say anything, if I do it wrong, if somebody will misunderstand me, then they're gonna say something back. And that scares me. So I just don't say anything. I don't do anything. And what this is all about is why I'm so inconsistent. It's that fear that I have to thoroughly come up with all these reasons for doing anything before I can just let myself do it, so that I can explain myself. But getting to the heart of why you do something is hard. So I come up with half-baked reasons that conclude somewhere that's unhelpful. I put my reasoning into action, I'm not helped by it, and then I go back and come up with some new line of reasoning. And this is a huge issue because it doesn't stop at big decisions about where I want to go and what I want to do with my future. It permeates every minute of my life. It's the same across whether the scale is weeks and months and years or just every hour to even a couple of minutes. I find myself looking back on the years that have passed and I see very little moving toward anything. And I look back on yesterday and it's the same story, just shorter. So what the hell do I do? I must break down the barrier, the stopping of myself that I do. I need to just let myself do things that I want to instead of sitting around coming up with lexically codified reasons for it beforehand. Express myself with my actions and creations. I must let it flow outward freely. Communication is a two-way street, and I've been trying to make up the inward communication so I could respond to it before it happened. Just so I don't fucking look like an aspie. Thinking 3 steps ahead of everything and finding it hard to predict. So I stay where I am, or I go back on my predictions. Instead, I'll just let it flow in before I find the response. If my responses are incomprehensible because of that, well, I'll just have to see how that goes.